Yeah, make sure you close the door.
Yeah, I guess. Alright. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know I've been MIA, but I've been thinking about what direction I wanted my channel to go in, and after having Chase, I decided that I wanted to make it more motherhood, to share my experiences with you guys on lifestyle, like, you know, share my experiences and everything I've learned or everything I need to know. I decided to start my channel back with my birth story. So it didn't go as planned, as me and my midwife had expected. So we always planned for a natural birth and we were on track for the 40 weeks. I went to my 39-week checkup, and when I actually went in the room, they had checked the heart rate of the baby and it was so low that they had rushed me into the maternity ward. So when I got to the maternity ward, I think the heartbeat had been normal for a while, but they didn't want to chance it to send me home. So then they admitted me to the maternity ward or wherever you stay before the baby, or where you're gonna have the baby. And then we were there for a couple hours. Chad was with me, and then his mommy came and we were there, and I was 1 centimeter dilated, I think. And then when we were waiting in there, they had given me I'm not sure what the thing is that they give you to speed up your the dilation, because I wasn't moving from 1 centimeter basically. So after going to the bathroom, I had gotten back in the bed, and then the heartbeat dropped again. So the nurse came in and they gave me oxygen, and they told me that, you know, the doctor's on the phone. So basically she was at home and she watches all her babies that she's supposed to be delivering that week. I don't know, she has it set up, I guess, to watch it. So she came on the phone and she's just like, they don't know why the baby's heartbeat is dropping, and they don't really want to chance a natural birth because I'm only 1 centimeter dilated, and they don't want for me to push, and while pushing something happened to the baby or something happened to me. So she's coming back for a C-section. So as soon as I heard that, I was like, no, because I didn't want to have a C-section. I didn't want to have a natural birth, but I just wanted the baby to be healthy and myself to be healthy. So they had given us the hairnet thing and the gown and everything, and started to get me ready basically for a C-section. So they only allowed one person in the room, and that was Chad. And we were getting ready, and I don't know, like the contractions were coming on really bad, but I still wasn't dilating. So we stayed there until the doctor came, and she basically started to get ready, and then the anesthesiologist came in, and she was telling me about, you know, the medicine, and I had to sign the papers and everything to get ready for the I think they gave me a spinal tap instead of an epidural. I've never had like a major surgery, and so it was like really scary, and I don't know, my body was like shaking and everything, and it was so cold, and I'm like, oh my god. So anyways, when she comes now, she comes in the room and they take me into the room where they're gonna do the C-section. I think it was like 11 something in the night, and I got to the hospital at like 5 o'clock in the evening, and then I was there until like 11 in the night, because they planned to have me overnight to have the natural birth in the morning when I started to dilate. But because of the whole thing with the heartbeat, we had been there since 11, and then she came back. So we went in the room at like, I think 11:45 or sometime 11 something. And then when we got into the room now, I was like the only one in there, because Chad couldn't come in until they finished prepping. And they put me on this like flat table, and in the room was like nothing in it, and it was so scary. I sat on the table and I'm like, no, what did I do to myself? I was like so scared. And I guess they prepped me and they told me to sit up. They gave me the spinal tap, which didn't hurt. I thought that part was gonna hurt, but it never hurt that much. And I sat there, then I just felt like from here down just went numb. Couldn't feel anything, and then the medicine started to get me like the jitters, and I started to shake, and they were explaining to me that's basically a side effect of the medicine and whatever, and I'm like shaking like uncontrollably, and I was like, oh my god. So I was really scared at that point. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, so when we were in the the maternity room, they were like, what music do you want to have, like basically listen to while we did a C-section? I'm like, really? I'm like, I don't want to listen to anything. And then she's like, Beyonce, and I'm like, so I ended up in the room with Beyonce music playing on Pandora. And then all the doctors came in and they put up the curtain, and Chad came in eventually after they finished prepping. And then I think at that point I'm like, oh my god. So they sit down and I don't feel anything. Like they start cutting because she's like telling me, and they're like having a regular conversation about what they ate and all sorts of things that have nothing to do with this. I guess because they do it all the time. Basically, I went in the room at like 11 in the night, and they started the process probably like 12, and Chase was born at 12:17 in the morning. So from 11 something to 12, Chase was here. And he cried, and I heard him cry and whatever, but that literally took 5 minutes to cut me and to take the baby out. He was there. Chad was in the room with me. Chad took the baby. I think at first he cut the cord. I didn't get to see him at that moment. They weighed him and I think they cleaned him up, and then they took him to me, and he was crying. And then when he finally came and they put him against my face, he stopped crying, which was like the best part. But I was still like shaking and whatever because the drugs are like, I guess, really bad. And then after they took him to the NICU because he still had the breathing problem. We were happy that we actually did it that way because we didn't want anything to happen to him. So he went to NICU with Chad, and then they took like 30 minutes to probably sew me back up, and they rolled me back into the room after everything, and they were like, you didn't bleed that much and whatever. So I'm like, well, that's good. And then I went to the room, but I was like so out of it because the medicine was like reacting badly with me. I was getting itchy, like I was so sleepy, and I was still shaking, so they had to like wrap me up with like lots of towels and whatever. We're in the room, and I think we were in there for a couple hours, and then I didn't see the baby yet. But after, I think they watched me for like 2 or 3 hours, and then they took me to the recovery room. So on the way to the recovery room, they carried me to the baby, and I got to see him. He was hooked up to the incubator, and they were basically watching him, and they were asking me if I plan to breastfeed and all those things because they don't know if they should give him the bottle or they should wait on me to breastfeed. So I told them I was going to breastfeed and everything, so don't give him no bottles, and they took me back to my room. Chad was in the room, I think, or coming to the room with me, and then we went back to the recovery room. So that night I think we just slept because we couldn't get to see the baby anyways. And we tried to get as much sleep because after that we got none. Next day I think was probably the worst because the actual C-section itself was it was easier than I thought it was going to be. I never felt anything, of course, because of all the pain medicines that they gave me. And the next day was, I think, the worst, when everything's kind of wearing off and then you kind of feeling that pain coming back. So they were giving me like, I think it was Percocet or some strong pain medicine like that, and it was just having like a really bad reaction. Every time I took it, I got like I was shaking, and it was like I would just like fall asleep. I would be like sitting there, and then my eyes just start closing, so it was making me like really tired. And that day we got to see the baby, so about 2 p.m. they told us that we could come in the room and see the baby, and they wanted me to start breastfeeding or trying to get him to latch. So we went into the room with him, and we got to see him. I got to hold him, and he was sleeping most of the time, but then he woke up a little and tried to breastfeed. But at first I wasn't getting any milk, so we had to give him the bottle because he was hungry and the milk wasn't coming down yet, so I had to keep trying to pump the milk and get it to come down. But I think the hardest part was probably the recovery of the C-section, because you're trying to do all of this, but you just basically cut open your abdomen, so it's like you're in so much pain. You can't sit you can't even stand. They had to put me in the wheelchair, and it was like so much pain at that point. And then you're having the catheter and you're having all of those things, and it was just like, I think that was the worst part of the actual C-section. And they took it out, and then you have to remember to pee, and if you don't pee, they're gonna put the catheter back in. So I had to sit on the toilet trying to pee, and then Chad had to help me. And you know, a lot of people think you don't bleed with a C-section as much, but you really, especially in the beginning, you still do bleed a lot. And Chad had to like change my pads and everything, and it was like some long pads like this. And I used nothing in my hospital bag because I'm not even thinking about that. Basically the hospital gave me everything that I needed: the gown, the underwear, the pads, everything. They had everything ready for me. The only thing I think I changed into was my pajamas or stuff. Not even the first day, I was still in the gown because that's the last thing on my mind. And yeah, it was really hard at that point. Breastfeeding was really hard as well, but then I think after the first day he latched, so he stopped getting the formula. He actually came out to the NICU after like 2 days, so no, 1.5 days, so he wasn't in there for long. He was breathing better, everything was okay. So we took him into our room after that. We're really getting no sleep because it's like as soon as you fall asleep he would wake up, or as soon as you fall asleep the nurse is coming in to give you back medicine, or they're bringing you food or something. So we had no sleep. We were like so bad. Chad was like trying to sleep when I was up, and it was just no sleep. But I do tell you that once you have a child, sleep is over. So we did experience it, but it was a really good experience. I wasn't even thinking about the fact that I didn't have a natural birth. I think it was just making sure the baby was healthy and everything was okay. The cut heel was healing fine. So now I think I'm 2 months postpartum and the cut's healed. So that's good. I had no complications really. I stopped taking the Percocets or whatever they had given me from inside the hospital because it was the worst. So I just took ibuprofen and Motrin, I think. The C-section itself, in terms of the cut and the postpartum, that was a hard part, where at least leaving the hospital because you're not in a wheelchair, and I started to walk from like the second day because they said the more you walk, I guess the better the cut will heal. And I was trying, but it was so painful. As soon as the medicine starts to wear off, like I had to be like sending Chad to get the people to bring more medicine because it was really painful, and they would come and check your cut every like morning and making sure everything is okay. When I got home, I think that was also hard because, you know, we just moved and then I have stairs now, so I couldn't go down the stairs, and then we have the dogs, and then the dogs like kept jumping, and I had to like I couldn't even go down to them for like a good couple of weeks. And I think that was the hardest part too, because you have to hold the baby, and then they're like, don't hold anything else but the baby, but you're so used to like doing everything for yourself that you're like, so I was like lifting things I wasn't supposed to, and I had to like remember and put it back down. And then I have to like wake up in the night and feed the baby, like hold the baby, everything, and I'm in so much pain. So I think the worst part of the C-section is definitely the recovery. Other than that, breastfeeding was also challenging, but that's a whole nother video. But I think overall I didn't really mind that I had a C-section, because with the whole breathing issues, I wouldn't want it like any other way. Imagine pushing and something happening to Chase or something happening to me. And so I didn't really think about not having a natural birth and having a C-section. I was okay with whatever happened. I went to my checkup, Chase went to his checkup, and everything was going okay. I just had my last checkup for my C-section and everything is fine. You can barely see the cut. The cut is so low, like you don't even see like the scar. So it's really low, like you don't even see, if you have on your underwear, you don't see the cut. So the scar healed properly. I had no like problems, even though I was like lifting things and they're like, don't lift anything. That was my story, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope for any mother that's about to have a C-section or has an emergency C-section can get an idea of what will come. But everybody will definitely have their own story, because nobody's birth is the same, which is why I think people forget that you think you're gonna have this natural birth and everything's gonna be like how you see it in the movies, and it's definitely not. But I hope you guys enjoyed my story. I have so many more videos coming for you guys on motherhood, on life, like how my life has been since motherhood, getting back to my old self, or you know, things that I bought that have helped me, and things that I bought and I didn't use at all, or you know, just recovering from the surgery, being a new mother, everything, relationship. And I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope you guys come back to see more. Thank you for watching.